Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 0 of the new season of War Machines, the information episode. Before I start discussing the upcoming season, I'm going to remind you, as said in the title of this video, this is only an information episode regarding the upcoming season. There are no fights in this episode, but there are plans for each episode to end with a trailer for what to expect in the next episode of this series, and that has been provided in this one. So the field for this competition is the largest it has ever been, if you've seen any of the past seasons of this series, with a field of 215 robots. These robots are from a big variety of competitions, such as Robot Wars, Bugglebots, King of Bots, and the competition where over half of the field is from BattleBots. Several of the big names are back in it for another season of this competition, including most notably the defending champion Hypershock. Half the field for this season hasn't had a fight in War Machines yet, but I'm certain that many of these robots are going to give Hypershock a big run for their money and make sure that all the returning robots here have a major challenge and won't be able to win the title easily. The next thing to talk about here for this episode is the tournament process. There are other Robot Arena 2 competitions out there, such as like my friend Dottie's series, BattleBots Armageddon, which does 4 fight qualifying rounds, similar to what BattleBots does. That is not the case for this competition, as I like to change it up and run my RA2 series a little bit differently from all of the other Robot Arena 2 competitions out there. So, similar to Robot Wars, I choose to use heats for the qualifying round of this tournament. How this will work is there are a total of 16 heats, heats A through heat P, featuring 12 robots in each one. How the heats for this competition work are each of the 12 robots will be randomly paired up with each other for their opening round matchup. The winners of the 6 matchups will confirm a spot in an 8 robot semifinal bracket for their heat. The 6 losing robots we place in one of 2 redemption rumbles, where the 2 winning robots will grab the last 2 spots in the bracket, while the losing 4 robots will all be out of the competition. Going from there, the 8 robots will clash it out bracket style. Whoever wins 3 matches in a row in that bracket will gain an automatic spot in the grand final, which is a bracket featuring 32 robots, which is larger than the grand final for the previous season. As for the other 7 robots, it is important to at least make the top 4, but preferably second or third place. The reason for this is that there will be a last chance episode following after the heats and the semifinals are all over. More information on how this last chance thing will be run will be revealed later on, but it will feature all the robots who were awarded second place, third place, half of the robots who were awarded fourth place, which are determined based on their performance, and 8 robots who won spots into this through the lost brackets that will be happening later during the season. 16 robots will remain, and those 16 robots will grab the last 16 spots in the grand final bracket. Once the bracket is formed, the competition will close it out with that 32 robot bracket, and the last robot standing will win the whole thing. There will be some side events following the season, but more information will come on that later on. So now that I've discussed the tournament process for this upcoming season, I'd like to discuss some of the changes for this season compared to War Machine Season 3.1, the last season of this series, which is a very similar style tournament to how this one will be run. So, the first one, obviously, there are some tweaks to the tournament process. There are 2 loss brackets this time rather than just one, and the process for that will be different than how the last one was, which was just a single elimination style bracket. There's going to be a lot more to it than that. So then obviously there's the higher competitive field size. This is the most robots I've included in one competition like ever in this series. And then obviously from then there will be higher number of grand final spots. Obviously there are lots of better robots in this competition, a higher stake competition, so it makes more sense to basically add more grand final spots. So I've doubled it from 16 to 32 for the grand final bracket. Another one to talk about is the episode order. So what I did for the recent season was it started off with every single Heats episode, then the Lost Bracket, then all the semifinal episodes, then the Last Chance episodes, and then the grand final. So How this is going to work instead is basically I want to do the heats and the semifinal episodes for each group back to back. What I'm kind of talking about by that is that basically Heat A, which will include all their opening round matchups in the Redemptions episode, that will be coming in the next episode. In episode 2, rather than going to Heat B and doing that process for those 12 robots, we're going to instead go to semifinal A, which will feature the 8 robot bracket and complete that. So the idea is that by the end of episode 2, we'll find out who is the first robot to claim a spot in the grand final rather than doing all those heats, then doing the lost bracket, then doing all the semifinals. So I think it might clear up a little bit of confusion and kind of help people not forget what happens in the during the heats. So I think it might be better that way. The two lost bracket episodes will happen throughout that process. Then the last chance episode and grand final episode will remain the same. So the third change for this season. All of the previous seasons were either partial or fully AI driven matchups. So this time there's no a th- this time this is not an AI driven competition. So I've got quite a few drivers basically helping out who have helped out with this competition and super grateful for all the hard work they've been able to put into helping me out recording this competition. This should hopefully lead to higher quality matchups and yeah, like I've said, I think this is going to be an awesome season, possibly the greatest one so far. All right, so number 4, the judging criteria. So basically, the judging criteria is going to be different this time around. And as you can see through the judging criteria right there, the one thing you might notice is that damage is only worth 1 point this season. So I've chosen to add a new criteria there, which is weapon effectiveness. So I kind of think my general definition of weapon effectiveness is who's using their primary weapon, well, more effectively and controlling more of the match with it. Basically, like if we had like Hydra and Bronco going up against each other, and Hydra is constantly getting underneath Bronco and using that flipper or launch Bronco in the air, like what we saw in BattleBots when those two fought. Hydra would be getting a lot of weapon effectiveness points, while Bronco would not because they're not just because they didn't have much effective use of their flipper in that match. So that's kind of general definition of that. This is the purpose of this one is kind of more so to reduce the advantages that spinners kind of have with a category like damage right there. And then the one damage point kind of serves as like a tiebreaker. The aggression and control are still in there. So the last change for this one, we have a new arena for this season. Yeah, I've used the Robot Wars 2016 season for the past few seasons of War Machines. I decided to change it up this time around. For this one, I'm using the Combat Arena, which is a boxed in arena with not too many hazards. The idea is basically get an all out brawl from the two robots in that arena and then reduce the amount of hazard usage, at least in this one, just so we can focus more on the robots in that match. So yeah, I believe I've covered everything that I was hoping to for the information episode. So thanks for tuning in to this and listening in. Hopefully this clears up some of the confusion people had with the previous season. But if there are still questions about something, feel free to comment asking about that and I'll be sure to get to it. And as promised, coming up next is a trailer of episode 1 to close out this video. Thanks for watching once again, and I'll see you all next time.